welcome to this So Essential vlog. I hope you're well. I hope you had a great Easter. I had a little break for a week, which was lovely, but we're back now with the So Essential vlog, and today I'm going to talk you through a pattern alteration or adjustment, which is how to add a shoulder dart. So this is something that will resolve the issue of a gaping back armhole, which is something I come across as a result of my protruding shoulder blades, and I've got a high round back as well. So if you've got even a slightly round back or you've got protruding shoulder blades, you might find that the pattern piece or the fabric gapes at the back armhole, and adding a shoulder dart is a great way to resolve that issue. So I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. I have tried other methods in the past to resolve this issue, one of which was slashing the pattern pieces and reducing some of the fullness in that back bodice piece, but obviously that does restrict your range of movement when you do that, and it also alters the size and the shape of the armhole. Whereas adding the shoulder dart, if you redraft your armhole in the way that I'll show you in the video, none of those issues happen, and also just the comfort from this adjustment is fantastic. I've always felt quite uncomfortable in woven garments, especially across the shoulder area, but because you're adding a dart, you're actually adding a bit of ease in that area, and you're actually disguising that protruding shoulder blade as well, because the fit is much better. So it's a brilliant one to know if you ever have this issue. The book I'll be using to take you through the tutorial step by step is my trusty Palmer Pletch Complete Guide to Fitting. This book's available on our site, and the link to our site's below. And I often refer to this and talk about this on the blog and the vlog. It's a fantastic book that covers a whole range of fitting issues that anybody might come across and ideas on how to resolve them. I'll also be using my favourite So Easy quilting ruler. These are available on our site in a range of sizes. I love this one because it's so big. It's 23 inches long and 6 inches wide. It's got markings on it for angles, it's got markings on it, it's got a grid on it, so it's really good for pattern drafting and alterations and that sort of thing. I've pinched my kids' Crayola felt tips because I like to use these when I'm doing pattern alterations so I can see what I'm doing. I've got some Scotch tape which I will use to stick any burder tissue paper that I need to my pattern when I'm making the alterations, and this is available on our site. It's really cheap, you get loads of it, and that's the one I always use. So yeah, without further ado, we'll cut now to the demonstration, and I'll take you through step by step how to make that alteration. So here I have the back bodice piece, and we want to add the dart in at the shoulder here to create the ease here around the prominent shoulders and prevent that armhole from gaping. So I've marked with the purple pen my stitching lines or seam allowance on the pattern piece, just so I've got those as a reference. And the first thing I'm going to do is fold the shoulder seam in half, lining up the shoulder edges so that I can see where to position the dart. So I'm just going to take the pattern paper, fold it in half, and I'm lining up the edges of the shoulder there, and I'm just going to fold that and crease the paper so I can see where that point is. That will tell me where to position the dart so that it's pointing to my shoulder blades. I'm going to mark the centre line on the crease about 4 inches below the shoulder edge, and then I'm going to mark a circle for the end of the dart about 3¼ inches from the shoulder seam line. So I'm going to start by marking the first line 4 inches from the edge. So I'll just take my ruler, line that up with the crease that I've just created, and I want to do 4 inches down that crease. So I'm going to do that in a different coloured pen so you can see what I'm doing. I'll use the green pen for this bit. So there's 4 inches. Okay, and then I want to mark the dart point, or the end of the dart, 3¼ inches from the shoulder seam line. So I'm just moving my ruler I can't actually, let's move it back that way because I can't get my ruler to go forward. So I'm matching up the edge of the ruler with the seam line, and then at 3¼ inches there is my point. Okay, so I've marked those points there. The next step that I need to do is to draw the stitching lines either side of the dart. Now normally you probably want to add about 1/2 inch, make a dart that's about 1/2 inch deep. So to create a 1/2 inch deep dart, you'd want your stitching lines to be 1/4 inch each side of the dart to the point. Now I obviously have not used the pointed part of my pen very well here, so that's something that you would want to do when you're doing it, but you know, it's one of those things when you're demonstrating, things don't always go according to plan. So I'm going to mark 1/4 inch from the dart, line that I've created along the crease that we originally created. So there's 1/4 inch on that side, and then I'm going to mark 1/4 inch on the other side as well. Just getting that in the right position there. Okay, so those 2 red dots there, you can see those 2 red marks that I've created there. I just need to join those with the dart point that I've created. So just draw a dotted line, and these are going to be your dart legs. And as I say, because each one's 1/4 inch wide, it will create a 1/2 inch wide dart. Okay, so just mark the other dart leg on there. So now you can see when I come to sew this pattern, I will mark this with tailor's tacks or Chaco pen or whatever you want to use onto the pattern piece, and then I will sew that dart in the usual way. So I'll just demonstrate it on the tissue paper. Obviously you line up the dotted lines and you'd stitch that into place, and that would create a shoulder dart there, which creates fullness here, and it enables movement and coverage of the prominent shoulder blade, but it will also reduce the armhole gaping at the back. Now the only issue you've got here, of course, is if you have taken 1/2 inch out there, then this part of the back bodice piece is going to be 1/2 inch shorter than the shoulder seam on the front bodice piece, so you'll need to correct that. And the easiest way to do that is by taking a piece of tissue paper, placing that underneath the pattern piece, and I'm going to use the purple pen to demonstrate this. Just draw a dotted line round the armhole curve, so follow the curve of the pattern piece like so. And what you need to do, because this piece is now 1/2 inch shorter here at the shoulder edge, you need to make it 1/2 inch wider, and I'm just going to mark on my notches there. So what you want to do, you want to add an additional 1/2 inch on here, and you can just rotate your pattern out from the notches there that you've marked until it's 1/2 inch wider. Just checking that's about right. Obviously you want to be nice and precise when it's the real garment, but for demonstration purposes, there we go, that's about 1/2 inch. And then you can just tape that pattern paper with your Scotch paper. I'll just take some Scotch paper and just tape that into place like so. Just get some more to secure it the full way down. And what that's done is that's given you that extra 1/2 inch there. As usual, I can't find the end of the sellotape. That's obviously going to happen on a video, isn't it? But you get the idea anyway. You tape it down there, and you haven't changed the shape of your armhole. You can also measure with a tape measure around the stitching line between the notches and the shoulder seam to make sure that that distance is still the same as it was on the original pattern piece. But all you would do now, once that was taped together, is you would just cut this tissue paper. Obviously I'd tape it all the way down the armhole, but I was having problems with my Scotch tape, but just trim that there down the dotted lines, and your front shoulder seam and back shoulder seam will now match. So I'll just finish that off so you can see the finished product. Okay, so here you can see the finished piece. So I've started off by folding the pattern piece in half along the shoulder seam, like so. I then drew a line along that crease, because that crease is halfway across the shoulder seam and will be pointing at my shoulder blade. I then drew the dart legs 1/4 inch either side of the original line. I marked the dart point, which was 3 1/4 inches from the shoulder seam line. And then, because I'm going to lose 1/2 inch here when I sew that dart, I have placed a piece of tissue paper underneath, marked the original armhole curve, slid the pattern piece out from the notches upwards, and then used that as my new line for the armhole. So it really is a nice simple set of instructions to follow, but it makes the world of difference with the fit if you have got that back gaping armhole issue. So I hope you've enjoyed my little Blue Peter moment today, and that there's people out there that will find that pattern adjustment useful. I know I find it incredibly useful, and it's another one of those things that sounds really complicated or might sound a little bit frightening, but actually hopefully I've demonstrated today, when you get on and have a go, it's not as complicated as you think, but it will make the world of difference to your fit. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the bits that I used today, the book, the ruler, the Burda tissue paper, they're all available on our site, and the link to our site's below. And that's all from me this week, so I look forward to seeing you next time.